Okay, now that we remembered how to graph lines, now we're going to start graphing less than and greater than lines. Okay, so it says y is less than 3 times x minus 4. Now, fortunately for you on this packet, the line is already here. Okay, it's right here. Just trace along that. Okay. Now, you got to understand what a graph does. Every point on a graph's a coordinate. Okay. So like this point right here, that'd be -2, 3, okay? X is -2, y is 3. X is -1, y is 1. I mean, it's all kinds of different coordinates. It's what a graph is, okay? Now, one of these sides contains coordinates for x and y that if you plug them in, this is a true sentence, okay? We got two sides. We have this side and this side. I'm going to do that 2 more times. This side and this side. One side has all points that make this true. The other side has all false points. Now, here's how you find which side has the true and which side has the false. It's quite easy. I would always pick the middle, okay? Because I don't even have to think about the middle. I know that the middle means x equals 0 and y equals 0. That's what the middle is, okay? So what I do is I'm going to put 0 in for each one of these, okay? 0 is going in for x and it's going in for y. So there's nothing in front of y. Just scribble it out, put 0. And then there's a 3 in front of the x, so I'm going to put that in parentheses and put a 0 in for it. Okay, so what do I have? I have 0 less than 3 parentheses 0 minus 4. Okay, now look on this side because that's where the parentheses is at. Okay, I'm going to cross that side out and I'm going to plug that into my calculator. So 3 parentheses 0 minus 4. I got -4. What's smaller, I should ask, 0 or -4? Okay. -4 is smaller. Okay. So I'm going to circle the smaller number. The nose needs to point towards that number to be true. But the nose does not point to that number, so that makes it false. Okay. So what I do then is I put an F on top of that point. So any point we have on this side of the line is false. Any point on the opposite side of the line is true. That's all you need to do. Okay, my next problem. 3 times x minus 5 times y is greater than or equal to 15. The line's already there, okay? There it is right here. It has 2 sides. This side, this side. Again, this side and this side. One side contains all x, y true points. The other side contains all x, y false points. Now again, I picked this because it's the simplest. I could actually pick a bunch of different ones, but I always pick here. I could also go 2, 3 if I wanted to, but I don't need to make it more confusing than it has to be. Okay? So x equals 0, y equals 0. Okay? All right, that means we need to replace the x and y with 0. So x has a 3 in front of it, so it should be parenthesized with a 0. And y has this 5 in front of it, so we should parenthesize that and put 0. So what do I have? I have 3 parentheses 0 minus 5 parentheses 0, the sign, and then 15. Okay, now I cross the side with the parentheses out, and I will plug that into the calculator. 3 times 0 minus 5 times 0, and I got 0. Okay, so now I have 0, the sign, and 15. What's the smaller of the two? Well, it's right here. Does the nose point towards that? No, so that's false. The nose has to point towards a smaller number, okay? Okay, so the nose is pointing in the incorrect direction. It should not point towards the bigger number, Okay, it should point towards a smaller number. So that's a false. So I put F and then go to the other side and put true. Okay, that's all you got to do. Okay, next, the line has been drawn. I think you can see it better on yours than I can on mine. Okay. All right, so we got two sides of this line, this side and this side. Okay, so let's pick that. X equals 0, Y equals 0. Well, in this one, there's only a Y. Okay, so there's nothing in front of it, so I scribble it out and put 0. So I've got 0, I've got the sign, and I've got 2. Now, which one's smaller? This is my smaller number, and this time the nose does point towards that number, so that is true, okay? It's got to open towards the bigger, the nose points towards the smaller. So I put a T, then the other side of my line is all the false points. That means any point you put in from this side will make that true. Any point you put from this side's false. Okay, you see the line quite clearly. So there's two sides, this side and this side, okay? That line cuts it into two parts, the part up here, the part down here. Okay, so let's pick the middle point. That's always the best one to pick, unless the line would just go through the middle, then that would make it tough, but I don't put any that do that, okay? So Y needs to be replaced with 0. There's nothing in front of it, so I can just do the scribble. And then X needs to be replaced with 0. So I have 0, negative 1/4, parentheses 0, plus 6. Now cross that side out because we need to plug that into the calculator. Now, some of you don't have this calculator. If you do, you just take negative 1 ABC 4, parentheses 0, add 6. 6, okay? Now, if you don't have that kind of calculator, okay, there's two other ones that you have in here to use. Okay, if you have this, you punch in negative 1, ABC down here, 4, and instead of parentheses, just put times 0 plus 6, and you get 6. Those of you with this calculator with the fractions, these are a pain. You need to put your fraction in parentheses, okay? Parentheses negative 1, and then you hit division 4, okay? And then another parentheses with 0. The fraction gets its own parentheses on these calculators. And then plus 6, okay? 6. Okay, so I've got 0, the sign, and 6. Well, 0's smaller. Does the nose point towards the smaller number? No. Okay, so that makes it false. You either need to think of it, okay, the nose needs to point towards a smaller number, and it needs to open up towards a bigger number. The jaws need to eat the bigger number. That is not happening like it should, so that's false. So I put F, and then go to the other side of the line and put true. Any point I pick for X and Y here is true. So if I were to pick 1 and then like 8 and put 1 in for X and 8 in for Y, it's going to make a true statement. Anything down here will not. Okay, next. You can see the line. It's down there. Okay. Right there. Okay, two sides, this side and this side, okay? So at this point, both X and Y are 0. That's the best point to pick. Y has nothing in front of it. You can scribble it out. So I have 0, the sign, and negative 4, okay? Negative 4 is a smaller number. The nose of the sign needs to point towards that. It does not, so that's a false, okay? So So that's false. The other side of the line is true. Okay, my next problem. Here's the line. You can see that going through there. Two sides, this side, this side. You got to find the side that has all the true ones, okay? So x equals 0, y equals 0. So go up here, your y didn't have anything in front of it. You can just put 0. The x does have something in front of it. We need to use a parentheses for separation, and that's 0. So I have 0, the sign, negative 1/3, parentheses 0 plus 2. Now this is a side with the parentheses, so I cross that out. Now my calculator, I go negative 1, ABC3, parentheses 0 plus 2. Okay, I got 2. If you got one of these, you got to go negative 1, ABC3 times 0 plus 2. I got 2, okay? If you're using one of these, okay, you got to make your fraction negative 1 divided 3. That needs to be in its own parentheses, and then another parentheses with 0, and then plus 2. That's 2. Okay, so I got 0, the sign, and 2. Okay, 0's bigger, okay? The nose should point, 0's smaller, sorry, 0's smaller. Circle the smaller one. The nose is not pointing towards that. That's false, okay? False and true, okay? Getting a lot of falses, okay? Not always like that. Okay, there's a line you can see. 4x minus 5y is greater than negative 20, okay? Or equal to. Okay, two sides, this side, this side. Well, here's the middle. That's x, 0, y, 0, okay? All right, so the x has a 4 in front of it, replace it with 0, and the y has a 5, so parentheses 0. So what do I have? I have 4 parentheses 0 minus 5 parentheses 0, the sign, and negative 20. So this is a side that needs to be crossed out. Okay, so 4 times 4 parentheses 0 minus 5 parentheses 0, and I get 0. Okay, so I have 0, the sign, and negative 20. Okay, negative 20 is smaller than 0. And the nose this time does point towards that number, so that's a true statement. So that's true. Anything on the other side is false for x and y. Okay. All right, and then there's the line right there. So nothing in front, so just get rid of it. And there is something in front, so 0. Okay, so 0, the sign, and then 4 times 0 minus 3. Cross that out, because that's where you're doing your math at. That's the side you have a bunch of numbers on, okay, that you need to simplify that. Got negative 3. Okay, so I got 0, the sign, negative 3. Negatives are always smaller than 0. Does a nose point towards the smaller number? No, it doesn't. Okay, so that is false. So that's F. And there's a line. Go to the other side of that line, and it's true. Okay. All right, so I have to say on that. Hopefully it made sense.